All right, greetings everybody, and welcome to week number 13. That is right, week number 13 of your 9443 class, which is your academic libraries class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. J.S.K. Alston, and what we're going to do today is a very quick state of the course update. And after that state of the course update, which should last only about a minute, we will go through yet another article, this one talking about censorship in academic libraries. Now, censorship tends to be more of an issue within your public libraries, as you all know. However, there is literature about censorship within academic libraries, but what we're going to find in that literature, and this is a recent piece, it's a piece actually from last year, 2023, what we're going to see in this piece is that really we're not seeing the same levels of censorship and having the same concerns with censorship and book challenges and book bans in academic libraries that we have in public libraries, which probably does not surprise you. However, if you, just because it doesn't surprise you, that doesn't mean that you don't want to have the literature to kind of back it up, right? So with that said, let's go ahead and get into that state of the course update, and then we will do we will go through this article, maybe spend 10 to 15 minutes on that. By the way, you do want to speed this up. So yes, let's get into that state of the course update. And the main thing for you all to know, well, there are a couple things for you all to know. First of all, I just got through, so as you probably have noticed, or as you definitely have noticed, there begins to be a lag in classes that I teach in October. And there's a reason for that. In October is when the activity that I have to do really starts to pick up. So throughout August and September, it's mostly just maintaining the classes and whatever publishing I have to do. In October, however, then my advisor hat comes on full force, because that's when students are registering for class. So I have to turn my attention to advising, and I have a large advising load. And yeah, I also help students, pick out their classes, make sure they're taking the right classes, help them with M1, so forth and so on. Other things that happen in October, I do tend to get an uptick in requests for letters of recommendation in October, so that's when other people are applying to programs. And applications are also something that I deal with in October here, in that I am on the application committee, so I review applications to our program in October, and that takes time. And then also the other thing that takes time is that we grade our e-portfolios in October. And so those three activities, they come on in October and they distract me from the day-to-day operations of my classes, and that's how I get behind. So I just wanted to explain to you all why things are the way they are, but November is my chance to catch up. In fact, I have to catch up so that I am ready to grade you all out in December. But with that said, let's go ahead and look at what's coming up. So really the only thing that you have to know is that, yes, the reason why I said that I've fallen behind is because I do want to get your first case study papers back to you within hopefully the next 2 weeks. I just got through grading some assignments in the reference class, and now I'm switching my attention over here, trying to get those graded out for you in time for you to do your final papers and know what feedback you need to be aware of there. So I'm working on that. Again, hopefully your first papers will be back to you within the next 2 weeks. And then also the primary thing that you need to know outside of what's going on with our modules is that next week in our discussion boards, next Tuesday, we will have a guest speaker, and that's going to be Jennifer Hughes, who is the Assistant Director of Libraries at Coastal Carolina University near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And that's where I used to work. I used to live in Myrtle Beach. It was awesome. And then I came here, and I am glad that I did. So you have that going on, and outside of that sync session, which Jennifer is going to talk to us about library hours, because Coastal Carolina had a very interesting situation with their library hours. And so she's going to talk to you all about that. And the reason she's going to talk to you about that is something that can inform, how the libraries that you all end up at will decide and determine their hours of operation. Okay, so yes, that's all that we need to say about that. So let's go ahead and aside from that, you just have discussion board prompts and then that final paper due on December 9th, so in a little less than a month. Outside of that, let's go ahead and look at this article. All right, so our article, which is here, Censorship and Academic Freedom in the Public University Library by S. Pokanowski and Roger Schoenfeld. So we have these two authors here, and they are not, for one thing, I do want to make it clear that these do not appear to be people who are researchers within some university or some sort of thing like that. So these do appear to be researchers with some association, specifically this one, which is Ithaca S+R, which I don't even know what that is. But as you can see, they produce their own publications. And whereas most of the research that you find on libraries comes from people who are librarians or people who work in LIS programs or that sort of thing at college campuses, you do have research reports that are generated by other entities such as this. There are, by the way, in saying that, and this is a paper from 2023, but in saying that, I do want to say that there are opportunities for you all if you get hired as librarians who have to do research. Then there are going to be opportunities to actually do this type of research, but do it from that academic standpoint and not do it from some sort of whatever nonprofit this is. So you would probably go through a more intense peer review and those sorts of things that way, but it would be information that would get to a wider audience and would be trusted more within our field. So having said that, I do want to just, again, just pull out some highlights like I have with some other things that I've been doing in this course. So we'll start with this highlight here. To this end, we spoke to 10 library leaders from 5 states with restrictive policies, comparing their experiences to 5 library leaders in 5 states without such restrictive policies. So this is a pretty good and sound method. And this, again, was from September and October 2023. And this is when the heat was on the libraries. This is when Emily Drabinski was our ALA president at this time. And she, for lack of a better word, lack of a better way of saying it, she really ignited some attention toward libraries with some things that she said. I'll talk about that more within the intellectual freedom class, but I do just want to mention it here very quickly. So at that time, during her presidency, there was a lot going on. There was just a lot going on. And so with that said, there was a lot of research opportunity there. And so these interviews were done in September and October of 2023, and then this report was published in March of 2024. Again, I don't know what kind of peer review it went through, but the findings that these researchers found were: academic library collections are not being directly censored by policy or subject to a large-scale systematic content, Academic library collections are not being directly censored by policy or subject to large-scale systematic content challenges. So this is not what we're hearing in our public libraries, but in our academic libraries, thankfully, they are not coming for our academic librarians in the same way, and there's not a lot of censorship going on, thankfully. Decisions around collection building are, however, being influenced by state and university policy and politics. And yeah, this is something that's not going to be escaped. And this, again, is why I tell librarians, well, I haven't said this in this class, but I have said this a lot in the intellectual freedom class. I tell librarians not to call themselves activists and not to blur the line between activist and advocate, which we are advocates, not activists. And part of the reason for that is because we are taxpayer funded. So if you start doing activist stuff when you are at the mercy of politicians and taxpayers, it's not a good idea. And so this is reflective of that. University academic freedom policies continue to serve as a defense against content challenges. That is also, again, something that we're not really seeing in public or K-12 libraries. University and library leadership require an extensive amount of political savvy, balancing commitments to different groups with sometimes differing values or perspectives. And this is a dance. I hate that I'm having to use this example, but this is the example that comes up. So we talk about the left eating their own, and there is a specific phenomenon, I think, of the left eating their own. And I talk about this more within the intellectual freedom class, but I'm going to limit how much I say about this in this particular class. But so what you have as far as competing values, sometimes you do have this phenomenon where you have feminist groups and womanist groups that find themselves in direct conflict with those who are doing transgender advocacy. Okay. Again, I don't want to get too deep into that, but what I will say is that you have to find ways to do some collection development with both of these groups without either group feeling that they have been alienated by the academic library. That does not mean you have to endorse either group. That does not mean that does not mean that the library has to make a value judgment in favor of either group, but you do have to have materials that either group, if you're talking about these feminist and womanist groups that may have some, I hate to say it, but anti-trans leanings, but these leanings are born from the out of concern for cisgender females. If you have that sort of thing going on, then those types of agendas do compete with those who are doing transgender advocacy, but you have to find ways to serve both. And so that can be a tricky dance. And I haven't really seen literature that even shows how you deal with both. A lot of times the libraries are actually making a specific value judgment one way or another, and then they go full force in that way. Okay. Diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, DEI initiatives, which a lot of states have come for, and the federal government probably under Donald Trump will come for. But DEI initiatives, programs, and units and libraries in their these DEI programs are being eliminated, renamed, or reorganized, even among the interviewees who suggest that the underlying services and their impacts will be unhindered. A critical issue is that many of their employees are scared, which is impacting the workforce. So that's something that is, again, probably the case even in your more liberal states. In your New Yorks and your Californias, you probably still have a lot of workers who are scared, especially in New York, because there are things going on with the governor and the mayor of New York as well. Library directors in certain states feel it has become more difficult to recruit and retain top talent, especially when prospective employees or their family members are LGBTQ+. Yeah, I don't even know really what to say about that, except, yeah, I don't know exactly what to say to this, except that, again, be the advocate, be somebody who is letting your LGBTQ+ coworkers or those coworkers who have family members who are LGBTQ+, the thing to do is to reassure them that there are safe spaces within these libraries, that they are appreciated within these libraries, and that what goes on the college campus a lot of times is different from what's going on in society at large, and that could be beneficial even for LGBTQ+ people who find themselves in more conservative states. Okay. And finally, the last one that they've got listed here, library directors are seeking opportunities to speak to others at peer institutions about these issues without drawing public attention. They do not want organizations to speak for them or advocate on their behalf out of fear that it will draw negative attention to their libraries. And I am going to say that I do think that this is something that comes from, again, the past president of ALA, Emily Drabinski, and I'm not picking on her. She has actually given me permission to speak on her in, well, actually wherever. She and I don't get along, but that's neither here or there. The point is that there are results of her presidency that we are feeling, and this is one of them. So Emily was very much drawing a lot of unwanted attention to ALA and to these various libraries because she's a publicly admitted Marxist, okay? And so, of course, when you're dealing with, especially these days and age, when you're dealing with, you know, Trump and MAGA and those sorts of things, to come out and start talking about Marxism, it does put this, while you're ALA president-elect, that does put us in a little bit of a bind. And so, having said that, I did find that there was, first of all, there were some libraries that just flat out disassociated with ALA after all the Marxist rhetoric, okay? So that was one of the harms. But even those that did not, you saw them kind of shying away from ALA, whereas they used to be organizations that would be I don't know, they would appreciate ALA's help and look to them for guidance and things like that. And you're seeing a lot less of that now because ALA got tainted once people started saying, oh, well, ALA is headed by a Marxist and she was voted in, so that must mean that a whole bunch of librarians are Marxists and that sort of thing. Okay. So also be careful if you find yourself as the president of any sort of library organization. Just be careful. There are going to be eyes on you. And I'm not ashamed to even admit that I myself was voted out of a leadership position with the Black Caucus of ALA. I was their president-elect. I was voted out. Differences of opinion related to advocacy, frankly, in my opinion, I just don't feel that they're on my level of make people mad and deal with the consequences, but know that no change is going to happen unless people are mad. BCALA, the Black Caucus, the American Library Association, does not really operate on a make people mad model. They try their best to not make people mad, even when people should be. All right. So, having said that, yes, be careful with if you find yourself in a leadership position, be careful about what you say, and just know that depending on what you say, that's going to make people more or less inclined to want to seek your help with their advocacy. Okay. So those are the main. I actually did just want to go through those findings and then allow you all, if you wanted to go ahead and read through yourself if you wanted to learn more. Frankly, and I hope you sped this up, but frankly, 16 minutes on one of these videos is more than enough. Well, I would say enough. Now, I know I've had 30-minute videos, but 16, 17 minutes, let's go ahead and leave it there. I am Dr. Jace, and when it comes to academic libraries, the censorship phenomenon that is affecting public libraries, for academic libraries, it just does not seem to be the case. Jace case, okay, I am done. We will see you all next week in our final sync session with Jennifer Hughes from Coastal Carolina University. Till then, ta-ta.